everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of Bill Has Opinions. This episode is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. So that's because it's episode 42. But I'm Laura Lavoie, and I'm joined by Bill, #Opinion Game. How you doing, Bill?
Hi, I'm doing okay today, aside from, a couple things that we'll get to.
We will. Apparently, we have an hour. We can get to everything. We can talk about all the things.
We can talk about all the things, but things are mostly okay.
Well, that's good.
From those couple things,
So I was thinking before the show, am I like the Paul Schaefer in this scenario? Like the Ed McMahon?
You're more of the Paul Schaefer than the Ed McMahon, I would say.
Little more involved, little less musical talent, but
yeah, but you should get a silver jacket. That would be awesome.
I should totally do that. That I am here for that. All right,
you're more like more like Andy Richter, really.
Old school Andy Richter. One of my I don't watch a lot of late night TV, but Andy Richter is by far my favorite.
Right, he's a little more like part of the thing, and he brings a back and forth, that I feel like because Ed McMahon, like, he was just there to kind of just be a yes,
Well, I mean, he had to do something between his publisher clearinghouse gigs, so
yeah. And didn't he used to co-host some show? Was it America's Funniest Videos when it first came out? Wasn't it him and Dick Clark together or some shit?
Really? No, I don't remember that, but if that's true. If it's an alternate reality, I'm also here for that.
It's a Mandela effect thing.
Exactly.
I remember it that way. I don't know if it was that show, but it was something like that. It was some kind of like reality clip show that I feel like Ed McMahon and Dick Clark co-hosted back in the day. It would have been the late 80s, early 90s.
I vaguely remember that, but I don't remember what it was. And maybe our viewer can tell us at some point. So again, that is a call for you folks watching at home. Definitely participate in the conversation because we want to hear from you. And this week, well, hey, before we get to this week's topic, what's more important is, what are you drinking, Bill?
Well, I'm still trying to shed a few pounds, so I'm doing the Jalisco diet again tonight, which is tonight. Well, I'm out of the other tequila, so I'm doing El Jimador.
Ooh,
El Jimador, and I've got some lemon flavored seltzer water mixed with that.
I like that it just appears to be like lemon, like generic lemon.
Well, it is. It's from Lidl, which is a sort of European discount grocery store that I shop at. And so it's kind of no frills, but actually I will say this: their brand, their store brand of seltzer water, it actually is more flavorful than most flavored seltzer water. Like, most of it's kind of like there's like it's like a truck full of lemons drove past a truck full of water.
Right. Yeah, and then you carbonated it a little.
Right. This one's more like an actual lemon farted in your water or something. So yeah. It's got a little more flavor than most of them, so I'm going to throw them a pitch. Not that they need it, because if you like to buy a 12-pack of fizzy water for $2, they got you covered. And I do, because that's a good price.
That is a good price. I will say, when we are back in Asheville, I'm looking forward to well, it's not an Asheville store, but the store Harris Teeter. They have their own brand of fizzy water, and you completely disagree with this choice because I know it is absolutely against all of your strongly held opinions, but they have a cucumber melon fizzy water that I cannot get enough of.
Yeah.
It is so good. Oh, wait, you were talking about Star Search.
Oh, Star Search. That's what oh my God. Yeah. Okay. I forgot about that. Star Search, where it was like, so it was the precursor to American Idol or American Got Talent.
And yeah.
And it's funny because I think maybe in the history of Star Search, which probably ran for a decade.
Oh, at least. I think it ran
in the history of Star Search, maybe 2 contestants ever became famous.
LeAnn Rimes, Britney Spears.
Oh, sorry, then 3. 3, because I remember a country group called, now fucking name slipped out of my head. I had it a minute ago, and then I started talking, and it was anyway, there was a country group that I actually owned like 2 CDs by, and now can't remember the name of, that actually did go on Star Search. But anyway, yeah, Star Search. That was the show. They used to co-host. So, and that was you got more personality out of Ed McMahon on that than you did on Tonight Show.
I think that's true. Although he was still like kind of the creepy guy. I was actually just watching the Britney Spears documentary that everybody's talking about.
Wow.
And like she is 10 years old, and he asked her, "Do you have a boyfriend?" Like that's the only conversation you can have with a little girl.
You know what? That's a thing that men that age used to ask little girls. I remember my grandfather asking my stepsister that at like 8 or 9.
Yeah, it's creepy. I think it's so weird.
It's just a fucking thing that old dudes used to ask little girls for some reason. All right,
well, I am putting this out there, an open letter to all old dudes. Stop it. Yeah. Don't do that.
Don't ask young girls about their love life. It ain't your business.
No, that's so ridiculous. But I am not drinking fizzy water, although I am joining you in the lemon category because I have here a Dr. Robot black lemon sour.
That sounds delicious. Okay.
I thought you might like that.
I like the name of it too, Dr. Robot. That's cool.
Yeah. Yes.
He's not a real doctor, but he is a real robot.
But he is a real robot. That is exactly what Dr. Robot is. And for inside jokes, you just have to deal with that. We're not going to explain any of it at all. And then after that, I have one that you don't like, which is the Lord Fog that has the lavender in it.
Oh yeah, lavender's disgusting.
But I love lavender.
Like soap, you'll love it though.
Look, we've got a huge list of people who are on Star Search. This is actually incredible. Sawyer
Brown, that was the name of the country group. Sawyer Brown.
All right.
And I actually liked Sawyer Brown a lot. Like I said, I had a couple CDs by them.
Look, Rosie O'Donnell and Drew Carey were on Star Search. Apparently, it was way more advantageous to people's career than we knew.
American Idol, which gives people one album and then they disappear forever.
Hey, like I don't believe in what's the word I'm looking for? Guilty pleasures. But that said, Kelly Clarkson is not someone I would ever listen to, but one of her songs comes on the radio and I'm like, motherfucker, this is the best. This is my jam. Like I freaking love me some Kelly Clarkson.
She's the only one who really like had a career from it. I think everybody else like had like they had a bump. You know what I'm saying? Like at the beginning, they had a bump and then they're gone, right?
There are a few. Yeah, there are a few, but apparently we need to do a Star Search episode.
Or just a reality TV
reality talent competition show.
There you go.
I think I'm going to write that down right now.
Put it on the books. #opinion game.
Yes. Share our content online.
Yes, be sure to request upcoming topics via #opinion game.
On Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you hashtag things.
Wherever you hashtag shit.
I mean, if you want to send us an email, write us a letter, include the hashtag opinion gang.
Right. You can mail me an actual snail mail letter. #opinion gang.
Or as the oldsters say, # opinion gang.
Right. Hash brown.
Hash brown. Where'd that come from? All right.
It's more like a Chick-fil-A waffle fry, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. It really is. So we probably should actually get to the topic of the show.
We should totally start on that.
Apparently. Although that is the fun of this. You never know what's going to come out of our mouths. It might be crazy. But this week's episode, as both of us are sitting surrounded by rain, we're actually in a thunderstorm right now. It's been thundering all night in Atlanta. We are dreaming of a day when we can become an ant colony once again with our fellow humans and be at theme parks. So we decided to make this episode all about theme parks. So, Bill, what do you know, like, or believe about theme parks?
I'm just going to start at the beginning. So when I was a child, I actually didn't. I mean, I guess I went to theme parks as a child. I remember going, but I don't remember like riding loads of things because I was a timid, risk averse type child, you know, and I didn't like. I didn't really like certain rides. I would ride like the most docile of rides. You too. All right.
That's still me at almost 46.
So here's the thing that happened. So I remember I kind of started going into theme parks as a child, and I didn't, we were just kind of going along, and I didn't really like theme parks that much. But I remember at one point, I guess I was probably about 17, and I was seeing this girl, and I went to a theme park with her and her friends, and she drug me onto a roller coaster. And that's when my enjoyment of roller coasters started, and we started doing this. I kind of like started ascending in my like for theme parks.
I see what you did there.
And I like and I started to like roller coasters a lot. And I learned to discern between the kinds of roller coasters I liked and the ones I didn't like. And as that kept on well into my 20s, but then sometime. Gosh, when was this? Probably about 8 years ago. Last time I went to well, I've been to a theme park since then, but the last time I went on a roller coaster, probably about 8 years ago, and I reached that part of my life where apparently, so as you get older, your inner ear stuff starts to bother you, and
yes.
you don't have the sense of balance you used to have, and roller coasters start to affect you in a way that they didn't once. Like adversely, like you just feel ill like the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah.
So I've aged out of roller coasters now, which is sad because I really enjoyed them for the years. And I wish I hadn't have been so risk averse when I was younger. And I wish I had gotten into them, like when I was 7 or 8 instead of waiting until I was 17. Oh, we're talking about the weather.
Okay. Yeah, so we still got on the weather, but it was an interesting enough comment that I had to put that on there. But Heather likes the old wooden roller coasters. I
have to completely disagree with Heather. The old wooden ones feel like you're in a boxing match and you're being punched in the kidneys the entire time.
This is a wooden roller coaster.
Right. I hate the wooden roller coasters. I like the smooth ass new steel roller coasters that are just perfectly engineered and smooth as silk. That's my jam. That's what I'm into.
I do not like roller coasters in the least. I still do not.
Ooh.
I tried them when I was a kid. I tried them as a teenager. I tried them in my 20s. I tried them in my 30s. Roller coasters can fuck right off. I do not like them.
Huh.
So here's the thing. I am an evolved human that is worked on not feeling danger in my day-to-day life. Why would I force myself to feel danger? Like, I don't need that. It does not make me feel good. And I don't like to do things that don't make me feel good by choice.
That's fair. That's fair. If you don't like it, you don't like it. I mean, my son's the same way. Like, it's funny. He went on one of those mild roller coasters when he was 10, and he enjoyed that one. We went on it like 3 times that day.
I've done that. And some of them, like the really mild ones, I'm good with. But you don't know what's going to happen until you get on it.
Yeah, and this one, I want to say this was in Kings Dominion in Virginia, and it was called it was trying to be like you were a crash test dummy on a test course.
Oh God,
that's what the theme was of this one.
That sounds awful.
But it's not very it doesn't have a lot of big drops, and it just takes like some sharp turns and stuff.
All right, really. I would probably be okay with that because I don't like the big drops. And definitely, you're never going to get me on one that goes upside down. No way.
Oh my God. Upside down. That's the best because like for that split second when you're at the top of the loop.
Force, like. zero gravity.
You're weightless for a second, and it's awesome to me.
Nope, I'm good.
I fucking love that. That's the feeling I liked when I finally did it. I was like, oh, I see what people are going on about. That's awesome. But then you can't. It's kind of like, it's like the 2-beer buzz. It's like a thing you can't sustain, or like an orgasm. You know what I'm saying? Like there's those things.
Short-term high right there.
Yeah. So there's things in life that you enjoy for a very brief, and you're like, oh my god, if that could only last like for even for half an hour, that'd be awesome, right? Like,
Well, so Heather brings up an interesting point that she can't do the spinning rides. Spinning rides were always my jam at any sort of ride event. I could do spinning rides.
Like spinning rides too. The octopus.
Yeah, the tilt-a-whirl, just a classic tilt-a-whirl.
The what I don't know what you call the one where the thing spins and then you stick to the wall.
Yeah, I can't do that. That's more of a fear of heights thing. Like, there's no floor before me, y'all. No. But otherwise, like if I'm spinning in a thing that is relatively low to the ground.
The thing that spins low to the ground, but then it tilts up, and you're spinning this away.
Sometimes it depends, but like you said, aging out of things, like at this stage. So just a quick story. A few years ago, Matt and I went to Universal Studios to the Harry Potter situation there. And I had done, because I don't like roller coasters and I don't like big rides, so I had done a bunch of research, and I'd actually watched some YouTube videos about some of the rides to see if there were any that I could do, blah, blah, blah. So the one that's the Escape from Hogwarts. So it's one of those mad like arm rides. So you're on like basically like an tilt-a-whirl on steroids. Mm-hmm. And so you are only moving on this arm, but then there's like a projected scene all around you, right? So I watched the ride through, and I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. I think I can do this one, and it'll be fine. So we stand in line for the ride. We get on the ride. I get strapped in. The first movement is all the way backwards. And I'm like, no. So I literally closed my eyes. I did not watch any of this ride. I opened my eyes at one point, and then we went swoop somewhere, and I'm like, nope, no. It's not like this. So I closed my eyes again. It was over. Just closed my eyes and it was over. We get off the ride, but the best part was Matt at that point had triggered his motion sickness.
So you're both there.
Right, and he is stark white.
Oh god.
I was fine because I didn't watch any of it. You close your eyes, you're moving, but you're like, nope, I'm not. That inner ear situation, like right. That focus issue. So we had to sit on a bench for like a half an hour, and then we went and got some butter beer, and we just like stayed still for a while. So yeah, at some point you absolutely age out of those kinds of things.
It's true.
You're a lucky one.
Yeah, it's sad. So, and so that being said, like at this point in my life, I don't like roller coasters anymore, and I also don't like standing around in queues in high heat and humidity. So,
Heather sympathizes, especially when you go, because all the big theme parks are in Florida, right? So,
right. Yeah,
you only go in the summer.
And it seems like, and in Florida, it's like you're standing around on the surface of the sun, waiting for 2 hours to enjoy something for 15 seconds.
Yes. So that does bring me to another theme park topic, but I think we should probably do our little station break here before we get there, so that we can dive into some things. So let me go over here to my little. All right, we got a station break to talk about. Bill, I think you have more to say about this than I do.
Talk about a thrill ride. My friend Chris Bickle from Columbia, South Carolina, who I went to college with, and also he was in the Columbia music scene with me at the time when I was in a band down there that was popular. He became a filmmaker in the last couple of years. He makes kind of purposeful B-movies sort of thing. His previous venture was a horror movie. This one is a sort of a road movie, I guess you'd call it. And it is, it's a loving homage to, Quentin Tarantino and Russ Meyer and that kind of thing. I will say if you like Tarantino-esque levels of violence, it is totally up your alley. If you like exploitation films of the 1970s, with badass women with firearms, it's your thing. It's just a crazy. The action starts like a minute in. There's not a dull moment in it. He shot this thing on a shoestring budget, but it delivers a better punch than a lot of big action movies I've seen. Certainly more enjoyable than any of the Transformers movies.
Well, I would argue that staring at my shoe is more enjoyable than most of the Transformers movies.
That could be said, but I will say, if you like violence and you're not offended by some sexual content and some language, it's pretty interesting. It's action packed and it's got some funny bits too. I really enjoyed it. I watched it yesterday and thoroughly enjoyed it. It's my kind of movie. I mean, I really enjoy those kinds of movies, but I'm trying to say, I guess it's not for everybody, but for the kinds of people it's for, it definitely delivers. It's available on, I think through an Indiegogo campaign. It's $9 to get a digital version. If you pay like $24, I think he'll send you a DVD. The digital version is out today, and the DVDs will probably ship in the next month. But anyway, he made it for less than the price of a used car, and he's now at break even actually. So I'm not pitching this because he needs to make his money back, but it was definitely worth the price of admission. So there you go. That's what I got to say about all that.
Excellent. And you can check it out at badgirlsmovie.com. And, in the future, send us a mailbag. Tell us what you think. Tell us if you liked our recommendation. If you didn't, we would just like to hear about it.
Sure, yeah. So anyway, where were we at? We were talking about roller coasters.
We were talking about roller coasters. All right, so I've got a few topics at hand.
All right.
So let's see. Where do we want to start? I think we need to start with, because I think theme parks are kind of they're a rite of passage for a lot of kids. Like when you get to that age where you go with the school group or you go with friends and like, it's not really the kind of place. Okay, I should preface this. Disney is the kind of place you go with your family. But a theme park, like a roller coaster amusement park, is the kind of place you go with your friends once you're old enough to do it by yourself.
It's true. You do enjoy it at a different level. I will say that. That was a thing. I guess when I was a kid and I was risk averse, it was my parents dragging me to the theme park. And then it was later on when I went with people my age that I finally was able to be drugged on to rides, because you have that element of peer pressure, I guess, to say, hey, you don't want to be a pussy, you're going to get on this ride, so okay, yeah, I'll get on the ride. And that's when you finally, you get on you do the thing that maybe, you're like, I don't know if I want to do this, but I don't also want to be.
Right. I don't want anybody to hate me. So.
Right. So I'm going to go get on the ride, and then I'm going to see and then sometimes sometimes the peer pressure is good because it helps you discover a thing about yourself that you didn't know, that you might have, eschewed because you were in the, in a place to do that. And so sometimes, friends goading you into a thing is a good thing. I don't think all peer pressure is bad, because it helps you discover what you like and don't like sometimes. So yeah. Like for me, like I said, I found I enjoyed thrill rides after that. And then I saw all the roller coasters. So here's the thing. I grew up in South Carolina. So Carowinds, which is on the border of North and South Carolina. That
I've always wanted to go to, and I've never made it to. In fact, one year I bought Matt like a pass to it, and for some reason we never were able to make it work. Whether it was weather or whatever it was, we were never able to go. Okay.
Weird. So yeah, no, it's a moderately okay theme park. It's got some good rides in there, and but as I started I went to that one several times as a child. I remember one time my mom was going to take me there as, I don't know, like she'd been talking it up. Like she was going to take me to Carowinds. She was going to take me to Carowinds. Finally, we go there, and I think my mom got heat stroke.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So we were there for maybe like 2 hours, and then she got completely ill. And we had to leave because she had heat stroke. But she bought me an Atari 2600 to make up for it. So which provided amusement for more than one day. So that was actually an okay thing to me.
That's it's amazing to me what I was just looking through an old scrapbook that I made for Matt's mom, and in it was about their dog Ginger, and it was, we got Ginger a little bit after their dad died. Like, what is it with buying presents for your child after a traumatic event? Like, we're just gonna, here, have a dog.
Yeah.
Or have a PlayStation. Like, whatever it is.
I don't know. It's retail therapy, they call it, right? Isn't that what they say? Retail therapy.
Yeah, I suppose.
I don't know. Retail therapy usually means you're buying something for yourself because it makes you feel better, because you get like a endorphin rush from purchasing things.
So this is more of a guilt thing?
Yeah, it's a guilt thing. My mom felt bad because she cut my trip to Carowinds short. Although, in all fairness, I had probably ridden the 3 rides that at the time I was going to ride. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I was not the kind of kid who was into that sort of thing. So we had probably done all the things I was going to do anyway. But she was like, "Hey, I'm going to get you an Atari," and I was like, "All right, then." So she got me an Atari, and I played the shit out of some Pac-Man. I don't know, like.
So it ended up being way cool, like way better.
Yeah.
Than going to Carowinds.
But then, so I will say, I remember going to Carowinds also with a middle school trip. I said middle school because most people know middle school. I went to junior high though.
I went to junior high too. I would have posted the "It Came from the Midwest" graphic, but because I didn't think anyone else went to junior high except Midwesterners. But
it's weird actually. Most of the schools in my area had middle schools, but my county had a junior high system.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, so our junior high, we went on a trip to Carowinds also, and and I'll say that what you just said earlier, it's a whole different experience going to the theme park with your friends versus going to the theme park with your parents, because your parents are like, "Oh, we have to go on the rides that like every person in your family can get on," so you wind up like getting like sort of hobbled into like the 6 rides that you can all get on, and you can all queue up and get in the same car and all that nonsense. So you wind up riding like the 6 lamest rides at the park. And,
right.
And you can just wind up like throwing baseballs at stuffed ducks or whatever the hell the rest of the day, because that's what you can all do as a family.
Right.
Whereas when you go with your friends, it's like you and your friend go find the damn things that you like to do, and you get to have a good time, so that's different. And then, like I said, later on, when I was in high school, actually, I didn't go to Carowinds then. Sorry. So that blows that story. But, I'm still going to talk about Carowinds. I'm going to flash forward. I'm living in Charlotte, North Carolina, when I was in my 20s. And I bought a season pass to Carowinds because Carowinds is about 15 miles outside of Charlotte.
Right.
Let me tell you, that was the bomb. And the reason it was the bomb is because sometimes you'd have these days like it'd be a day in July and it rains. It just pours rain at like 10 a.m. in the morning, right? And so what happens is all the families who are going to come from out of Charlotte, the people who were like in South Carolina or somewhere else in North Carolina who are going to come to Carowinds, they've canceled it's raining, we're not going to go today.
Mm-hmm.
So what you would do is, these summer storms, and they kind of like, they end around noon, and then bam, suddenly like you be like, "Hey, you want to go Carowinds?" I would just drive to Carowinds. I got my season pass. I'm in. Nobody's there. The place is fucking empty because all the outsiders have canceled their plans. It's only like a handful of locals there on those days. And you could just like get right. There was no queues. That's the best part. No queues. You just jump back on the. Sometimes you ride on the ride and you get done, and they go, "Hey, you want to go again?" You be like, "Yeah." They say, "Okay, don't even unseat, just stay put. We'll run again." That was the best. I love that shit. So that happened. I've had a season pass twice, actually. Once when I lived in Charlotte, and once when I was living here. We used it about 4 times the time I was living here because it wasn't as easy as just driving across town then,
Right.
And I don't think I got any of those really sweet days where it was raining like that. But anyway.
Well, and then it would have been 2 hours. Like it would have been a 2-hour drive, and you're like,
right. I'm the kind of person that at this point in my life that would have canceled the trip because it was raining.
Right, exactly. But it's funny you say that though, because when we first moved to Georgia, we knew a handful of people. We didn't have a lot going on. We were just getting our bearings, and we were in our mid-20s at that point. So we bought season passes to Six Flags Over Georgia, which is just just in the outskirts of Atlanta.
Well,
and
it's almost to Alabama. Let's be honest.
Well, sure, it's not that far though. I mean, it's pretty close, and. So we would go there, and there were these soft pretzels that were at one stand, and they were like the best things we'd ever eaten at that time. I mean, I imagine there are plenty of things that are better, but we would go, and literally what we would do is we had our season pass. We would go, we'd go into the park. We would walk because it's Georgia in the summer, right? So it's like 3,000 degrees. It's like living on the surface of the sun. So we'd walk all the way to the back of the park where their Thunder Canyon ride was, which is like one of those big, like the big inner tube boats that goes through, like it's not a log flume.
Rapid ride. Yeah.
It's a rapid ride.
It spins around and it bombs.
It's not a log flume. Like there's never like a big drop or anything.
Right. No, yeah, I love those things. That was actually one of my favorite rides as a child, but okay.
But we would go do that. We would specifically wear clothes that could dry easily. Like don't wear jeans. Wear clothes that would dry easily in the Atlanta heat.
Yeah.
We'd go back there. We'd ride that ride first, and we'd get we would be the ones that be like, I want to be under the water. We would let ourselves get soaking wet, and then we'd walk all the way back up to the front of the park, and we'd be dry by the time we got back. But we were cool, and. Yeah. We would get a pretzel and we would go home. Like that would literally be it.
Right. One ride and have a pretzel and say, that's that. That's what it came.
Season passes to do that, and it was amazing. I would do it again. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
But the thing is, so unless you have a season pass, the rapid ride that you just described on a hot summer day usually has a line about 2 hours long at least, right?
Right, which was what made our plan genius, because it didn't matter how long we were in the ride in the line, because that's literally all we were there to do. So it was perfect.
Right. Let's stop for a second and talk about what you're drinking now. What are you drinking now?
So this is that you don't like this.
That one. Lavender.
Large Fog. It's a Earl Grey based beer with lavender, vanilla, and cream. And I freaking love this. This is my favorite beer in Atlanta, and I will miss it a great deal when we go back to Asheville.
Are you going to buy a case of it before you move back?
There is one already in our fridge in Asheville. Just going to say. There's already a back there waiting for me.
Okay.
Just in case.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be essential. There will be a few that, this is off topic. I enjoy Atlanta, and we lived in Atlanta before. And I'm very much looking forward to moving home. And there are a handful of things I will miss. And several of the new breweries that weren't here when we were here the first time are those things. Like, they're really, really good. And
everything you miss is drink related.
I mean, it's our podcast is always about beer, right? So it's always related.
Yeah, it's always, I'm just saying all the things you'll miss will be drink related.
Pretty much, yeah. Like 100%.
Okay.
Like, no, maybe some food. No, but that food involves drinks. So we'll go with that. So I have to say, I do have to go by. Let me go over here because I've got a little graphic to show you. Because if we are talking about from our childhood, I have to describe to you the fucking weird ass thing that was Boblo Island. And this exists nowhere other than Detroit. Which means It is, so it is an island on the Detroit River that had a theme park on it. If you took a ferry, it was like 10 minutes from Detroit. Like you'd get on a ferry and you'd go over 10 minutes, you're in a theme park. And it had all the rides, blah, blah, blah. But for some reason, some idiot decided, some planner decided that the way most people should get to Boblo Island is to be on these giant paddle boat bullshit things that took like 4 hours to get to Boblo Island.
When you say paddle, you mean steamboats, right? Like
yeah, I'm pretty sure they were. I could be corrected, but my memory is that they were like steamboat with paddles.
Right.
So apparently they would go around the island like 40 times, however long it took. It was for freaking ever. And eventually you would disembark at the island and you could be. So by the time I got to Boblo, I was already motion sick because I've been on a boat for 4 hours.
And you were tired already and ready.
I was already exhausted.
Like,
and the boat was the I hated that boat so much. But then what makes it worse is you're done. You're done at Boblo Island. It is nighttime. You are all herded back to the same fucking boat.
And so did the boat run several times on the way there, and then at night, like everybody wanted to leave at once? And
I'm pretty sure there were multiple Boblo boats, and I believe Matt could give me the answer if I believe there were multiple Boblo boats, and they all had names. So you could get on, and they would leave at different times. And 4 hours is a bit of hyperbole. It was probably an hour, but still, that's too long.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. It's too long.
Yeah.
God, I hated them. They had an arcade on the boat, and you could get snacks and sodas and things. And maybe if you were an adult, you could get an adult beverage, but I don't know because I was always a teenager.
If you were an adult, could you gamble on the boat?
No, it wasn't even that cool. I mean, you could, like, I'm sure some people could have their own dice game if they wanted to. There was no Pablo station.
Because usually like that, having a riverboat is the exception to there's no gambling in this state. Let's run a boat or an Indian reservation. Those
that was huge in Detroit. There were riverboat casinos in Detroit and Canada on those rivers for a long time. Boblo was not one of those things. It was the worst boat too. Like, I remember the smell of it, and I wish I could just give you that because it was just awful. But what's worse is, like, it was this big metal boat, and like you'd be standing on these railings that were like huge pipes, like huge, like this big around, like huge pipes. And like it was all cracked and chipped paint that had been painted over like 1,000 times. So it was just it had this weird texture, and it all smelled bad, and there was like gum everywhere, and everything was sticky. I hated that boat so much. I cannot, and it doesn't exist anymore. It's no longer there. Boblo is a thing of the past. And I know that there are people from Michigan who still love it. And
did the island sink? What do you mean it's not there?
No, okay. So I am 99% sure at this point, Boblo Island, the theme park itself was closed a while back, like a long time ago, because I'm old. It was like 10, 15, 20 years it was closed down. It's now like high-rise it's residential. Like there are buildings on it.
And so they have a sign over there that says, if you lived here, you'd be home in 4 hours via the boat.
I wish. And you could see, like, it would be great because when you finally get there, like, you felt like you were sailing through the Caribbean, and you're just in the freaking Great Lakes, and you're in the Detroit River, and you feel like you're sailing to Canada. I mean, you are technically, but not that far. So, and you would get there, and you would see, like, the first ride you'd see from the boat was the pirate ship. You know, the big you could see that from the boat, and you're like, we're almost there. And then it was still like a half an hour before you got there. It was the worst thing.
I'm sorry. So Matt had said earlier that the boat was like a faux paddle boat. It was actually, so it had a trolling motor, like a 12 horse electric
It probably did. I think that is in fact quite accurate. It was not like, because now that I live in the South and you're a Southern and we know like a paddle boat is a thing, a steam powered paddle boat is a thing. Like they go up and down the Mississippi. They're a part of history. This was made to be as if it were that, but it wasn't. It was hell on earth for however long it took to get you from Detroit to Boblo Island.
Well, that sounds awful.
It was awful. I did not learn until I was I think I was a senior in high school. I went one time with a bunch of friends and well, there's a comment. Yes, it ran with bad child power. That's how they ran it.
We're down in the basement doing
this. Just row. But I learned that there was a ferry that would get you there. And one time I went with some friends in high school and we took the ferry and it was like 10 minutes. I was like, why the fuck has no one told me about this?
What? You mean we could have been here all along?
But the Boblo boat was like part of the attraction. Like you'd get your ticket to Boblo and it would get you on the boat. And then it was part of the whole thing. Because the ferry you had to pay for separate. Like, but I'm like, I would have been paying for this my entire life if I knew it
was money, right?
I can't. I'm so glad that place does not exist. I hope they blew it up. I hope they just brought in tons of dynamite and just blew it all up because I hated it.
It's not even a space in the river anymore.
It is not. No. But I have to also mention, because it also came from the Midwest, Cedar Point. People love the shit out of some Cedar Point, and like it's country renowned. I don't know if it's world renowned, but it's known as the theme park with the best rides in the world.
When I was growing up, you would always hear, the best roller coasters were at Cedar Point. And I've never been, and now of course I used to want to go, and now I've aged out of roller coasters, and I no longer give a damn, so I never will go. But there was a time period in my 20s when I was like, oh shit, I need to go up there one day and ride one of those, because they were supposed to have, I think, the highest or the fastest steel roller coaster.
They've had all of those, and they were always one-upping themselves. So like every year, they come up with one that was better, bigger, faster, something.
Well, you have to one up yourself, or someone else will one up you. It's like, when you have the like tallest building in the world, you have the tallest building in the world for about 3 years, and then the next country in Southeast Asia is going to build a taller building.
I'm pretty sure that Dubai and Malaysia are just in constant. Yeah. Like, I built a big building. No, I built a big building. No, I built a big building. No, I built a big building.
Yeah. And it's funny because, they must build them like, just 3 feet taller than the last one, right? Like, but then why? Like you need to go ape shit and build it so fucking tall that it'll take the next guy 17 years to build the next. The reason we talk about the Willis or Sears Tower in Chicago is because that was the tallest building for fucking years, because they built that shit so tall that nobody could top it for ages, and then it took them like some kind of feat of engineering when they realized, oh, if we put like a thing between two buildings, where we can make them taller.
Exactly.
Which is kind of a cheat. That's like when you build like cakes with fondant. It's like horseshit. Like, no, it's not really a cake. That's just plastic. It's not a cake. It's
plastic over a cake. Well, there's a cake in there. You just have to get into it. Like, you might as well just put fabric over it.
Yeah, you can't eat it.
I've never understood fondant. This is a whole other show, but I've never understood. Because you might as well just go buy drapery fabric and just like make it decorative. Because you can through it and you're not going to eat that shit.
Nobody wants to eat that shit though. It tastes horrible. Like, it's not like, it's technically edible because you can ingest it.
It won't kill you.
You won't want it. You won't want to eat it. You won't be able to finish a slice of that cake.
You will not. No, I've never met a person who eats the fondant. Never once. And you have, like, at a wedding, you always see like all the plates with the cake on it. Like, it's just like discarded fondant, like shed skin. like it's I don't know, lizard skin or something.
It's terrible. So it's like I feel that's cheating, and I feel like when you hook two buildings together, that's also cheating. You need to learn to build the tallest building by itself, a freestanding tower. Okay, then we'll talk about it. Like Patronus, I'm looking at you. It's nonsense. That's not really a thing. But anyway.
So
we were not talking about buildings or cakes. We were talking
but we tend to. So I have to mention, if you have HBO Max, you have to watch the documentary Class Action Park, which is it's about a theme park in New Jersey, I believe, called Action Park, which has had I can't even do it justice. I can't even
you remember the one in Kansas where they built the world's largest water slide and the kid flew the fuck off of it?
That was there are a lot of similarities between the two. Action Park had multiple deaths.
Okay.
Multiple deaths that most of the time were just settled out of court real quiet. It was insane. There were no safety regulations whatsoever. Every employee at the park was a teenager. So any teenager growing up in this part of New Jersey in that time period probably worked at Action Park. There was a tidal wave pool, and you could go in and blah, 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 tidal wave pool. Two people died in the wave pool. How much do you feel when you're the second guy who dies in the wave pool? We know someone already died.
Well, the second guy got hit by a body.
But they would, because it was so, it's this big wave pool and the massive waves, they would turn it off every hour to skim it to make sure there wasn't anyone else dead.
They do that at every wave pool I've ever been to. They have to turn it off every once in a while and look around and make sure there's no bodies.
And it was so gross. It was all because there was no real filtration. There would be just vitreous floating in the water, just people in there with various bodily fluids.
Yeah.
And so one of their big rides was this
pee-pee flume.
It was a people flume. It was literally a people flume.
I said the pee-pee flume.
Well, yeah, but no, in this one they were concrete trails.
It was an open sewer.
It really kind of was. There were these, and you would get a sack, and you would get on these things, and you would ride down a mountain. I think it was called the Alpine Slide or something. A kid died on it pretty early on, and it got settled. There were all kinds of issues.
What are you gonna do? Shit happens, right?
It was literally one of the attractions was a giant pool of freezing cold natural water where you could swing from a rickety old deck on a rope into the water. And kids would hit the water, and it was so cold because it was fed by a natural spring. Even in the summertime, it was freezing. Kids would hit the water and immediately go into hypothermic, and they couldn't swim. They couldn't get out.
Yeah.
And so this was considered okay.
I mean, the only thing that would make it more fun is if they had a live orca in there.
There you go. But if you have HBO and you're interested, seriously watch it because it is fascinating. Fascinating. And the amount, it's such in New Jersey, or I think it was New Jersey, it might have been New York, but either way, it was it's such a part of their culture, from the 80s and 90s, the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's such a part of the culture. Everybody there knows Action Park. And the documentary is called Class Action Park because lots of lawsuits. And it is so fascinating. And watching these, the footage, the original footage, and you're how did people let their children do this?
I think there's an assumption that things are safe. I mean, it's think about, you went to the county fair, did you? I don't know if you did or didn't, but we would go to the county
a few times, yeah.
County fair or the state fair. But that shit, listen, 4 days ago, that was on the back of a truck.
Yeah.
And it was assembled by carnies.
Yeah.
And you're I guess this is okay.
I have several stories. My high school boyfriend's aunt fell off of one of those Ferris wheels because they didn't lock the or they didn't unlock the swing. So it started to go up and it didn't unlock. So she was just hanging out of it and she actually fell off. Like, wow. I knew that happened.
You died or just got made?
I met her. She was Aunt Vicky. I met her. She might have been a little off, but she fell out of a
Ferris wheel.
She totally fell off the Ferris wheel.
I'm saying, like, that crap happens and people don't think twice about it. They go to those things and they assume. I think people assume that if a thing has been operating for a few years, that it's got some level of oversight, right? Like that this is probably okay.
Exactly, but it was never okay.
No, I'm just saying, if you're at the county fair 4 days ago, that shit was on the back of a truck. It's like it's one thing at an amusement park because that shit is like cemented to the ground at the amusement park,
right?
And they have permits and all that kind of, I don't know what was going on in this New Jersey place, but like I know that there are inspectors in most of these places that
not this place. Not Action Park.
Yeah, but I'm saying the county fair or the state fair is a level of freewheeling, devil may care.
But it was actually the state fair, Michigan State Fair, that I learned that I like spinny rides because what I don't like is heights, but I don't mind the motions. So I didn't I was fine on a tilt-a-whirl or any of those things as long as I didn't go up high. I couldn't do that shit.
How about that one? It's like the Alpengeist or something. It's like it spins around.
The Matterhorn?
I don't know. It's under a tent. It's usually got like it looks like the side of some 1970s van has been airbrushed on it. It's got like a barbarian lady on a Siberian tiger. She's not wearing much clothes. And when it's under a tent and you get in it and it spins, but it goes up and down and you get on it and they start playing Welcome to the Jungle and the guy says, I want to hear you scream.
Exactly. And nobody died or people did die, whatever the case was. So we are actually running out of time. So we haven't even gotten to Disney World or any of those big ones.
So let's what do you call it? Rapid fire. You want to rapid fire some shit?
Disney World, yay or nay?
I've had good times and I've had bad times. It depends on the time of year. That's what I'll say. Depends on the time of year. If you catch it in mid-April, in between spring break and summertime, perfect time of year. Nobody's there. That's when you go.
As an adult, I have to give you a little. So we went. It was actually February when we went last time. We only went to Epcot.
Okay.
If you're looking for an adult, fun, good time, drinking around the world.
I can see that. That sounds. Yeah.
So the idea of this game is that you go to every world pavilion, every city or every country pavilion in Epcot, and you have one alcoholic drink at each of these places. And I can't remember how many there are, but there are a lot. And you start at Mexico, you end at Canada. Mm-hmm. So that's the way you have to do it. What we learned quickly, a couple hints if you want to do drinking around the world. Split drinks, because it's a lot of drinks.
Okay.
And we did not start splitting drinks. So we each had a margarita in Mexico and we each had a beer in whatever it is, Norway. And then we're like, oh God, we're already drunk. We need to do something about this. So definitely check that out. But split drinks, order one cocktail and share it. You'll be fine. You'll still be drunk at the end.
Right.
Too drunk. But, and my other suggestion is start in Mexico and in Canada. But as you get all the way around, skip Britain, go to Canada, get your drink, and then go back to Britain because they're right next to each other. Because there's a pub there and you can have dinner. So you're drunk, and then you can eat.
Fish and chips.
Fish and chips, which is exactly what I ate at the pub.
All right. That's good pub food, and it's good food when you're drunk.
That's true. And I recommend going to the pub, putting your name in, even no matter what time of year it is, then going to Canada and getting your Canadian beer and drink it on the way back, and then just hang out.
Can you walk around with a beer?
Yep.
So you're having emulsions while you're walking through the park.
Yes, although it was better than just Molson Canadian, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Yes. And as Jay said, Harry Potter World, definitely worth checking out. I did not buy this at Harry Potter World, but it is my Harry Potter shirt.
It is a Harry Potter shirt. Yeah, I've never been to Harry Potter. We were gonna, we talked about when I was in Florida last month, going briefly. We thought about it, but then also there's a pandemic, so we didn't want.
It is good times, and I guarantee the major amusement parks will survive this, so you'll be able to go when this is all over.
Yeah. Okay.
So, all right, we are done. But we should probably, I think there's some things that are extra, aren't there?
Oh, I just wanted to complain for a moment about the weather. It's February in Western North Carolina. That means it's been raining for like a week straight now. And I'm sick of mud and I'm sick of rain. And I just want to get out of the house and do something one day, like, walk on solid ground and not squish, squish, squish. I don't know, like anything would be preferable. It's just awful. The other thing I hate, it's not just for me. It's also because in the morning the dog's like, "Row, row, row, I gotta go out and pee," and I'm like, okay, and I open the door, and then the dog just fucking looks at me like, are you fucking shitting me?
You're like, I'm not in charge.
I'm like, I don't control the fucking weather. Go out there and pee already. Like, and the dog's like, nah, I'll just go pee in the other room. It's cool.
And Heather, I sympathize that you are in Minnesota and it is cold and snowy, but the only thing I have to say about that is that's why I moved to not the Midwest.
Yeah, I have kind of sometimes I think cold and snowy is better than cold and rainy, like because cold and snowy is dry, cold, kind of, I don't know. We had some snow like a week or two ago, and then now it's cold and rainy, and it's just like it's cold enough, like it's 35 and fucking rainy. Like it's not like, I'm not saying it's like 40 and rainy. It's 35 and rainy, and 35 and rainy feels colder to me than 31 and snowy. If you know what I'm saying.
I agree with you because it feels like it should be snowing at that point. You're like, it's right there. It's right above freezing. And
I'm wet. And snow, wet. Like snow is not wet. Snow like dances on you, and rain soaks you. And then, like.
That said, for the very same reason, I moved south and I love winter. And when it's snowing in the south, like it snows and it's magical and it's beautiful and it lasts a day at the most. Yeah, and then you move on.
Yeah, we had the snow last weekend and it was snowy. Like it snowed, we got like 4 or 5 inches, and then the next day, whoop, it was gone. And I was out going to breakfast the next day. It was fine. I loved it. But then it started this rain right after that, and it's been cold and rainy ever since, and I'm over it. And so my complaint today is rain. So that the aforementioned complaints that I had at the beginning of the show, this is what I was getting at. I'm sick of the weather. It can go ahead and fuck off and be spring already, or at least that one warm snap we get in February, where it like where the daffodils get fooled and they bloom, and then you're like, oh, you fools.
Yes, and then it gets really cold again. Yeah, I have a picture somewhere where the crocuses were coming up on our front lawn, but then there was snow. And I'm like, fools, snappy little crocuses.
The crocuses, to be fair, bloom in the wintertime. That's their MO. That's what they do. The daffodils think it's fucking spring the first warm snap we get. Like if it's warm if it's been cold and then it's warm for 2 days, the daffodils are like, oh shit, it's spring. I guess we'll bloom. And you're like, you dumbasses, it's not spring. And then they go,
are my favorite. Maybe the reason daffodils are my favorite is their innate optimism. They're like, yay, it's spring. And then they're like, oh, fuck.
They're naive as fuck, and it's kind of adorable.
And that's why I love them. So Heather has wished us sunshine and good things. Also, it has been suggested to me we should have a Heather appreciation episode because Heather, we have 3 viewers, and Heather is one of them. And we're glad you're here, Heather.
Yeah, we should totally. At some point when Heather is around, when we're in the same room with Heather, we should have Heather on as a guest.
We should absolutely. Well, I mean, heck, we can have Heather on as a guest even without being in the same room.
Do it this way. That's true. We can do that.
We do that.
Yeah.
We'll discuss the logistics.
We'll talk about it. We'll have our people talk to your people.
We will do that. I know Heather has her own podcast, The Liberty Librarians. So,
yeah, so she could probably talk for an hour.
oh yeah, I'm sure we could come up with something. We can make that happen.
All right.
I think we are done for the day. I've got pizza to go eat.
Yeah.
The
So,
Bill Has a Pizza. That's what
Bill
we
Has
call our dinner on Bill Has Opinions nights. We have Bill Has Pizza. So, Bill, take it away.
all right. So Bill Has Opinions is engineered and produced by Laura Lavoie. The opinions of Bill are those of his and his alone, unless Laura shook her head in agreement with him. And the opinions of Laura are hers alone, unless Bill also laughed and giggled and shook his head at them. And let's see.
But not lavender. Lavender sucks.
Not lavender. That's terrible. Like, you should not put that in food. That's for soap. What was I going to – you sidetracked me. Oh, man.
Sorry.
I had things to say. Oh, also, yeah, our opinions are not necessarily the opinions of any of the sponsors. And I say sponsors with air quotes because they're not really paying us. We just are like giving friends a mad shout out right now. But in the event that we get paid sponsors, they're not their opinions either. Okay, so be sure to like and subscribe on the YouTube and follow us on Facebook. And be sure to hashtag Opinion Gang if you have anything to say about this show. Opinion Gang. Hashtag Opinion Gang. We're going to start. That's going to be a thing now. Opinion
Share our
Gang.
content.
Yeah, share our content with your friends if you like our show. I'm talking to all three of you. Tell your friends about us. And we'll see you next week.
And we will indeed see you next week. Oh, and I don't remember what the topic is, but we'll let y'all know.
There'll be one.
Bye, everybody.